Yeah, it's hard to believe it, but only 15 games remain in the regular season for the Firebirds, who tonight are on home ice and set to welcome the North Bay Battalion. Flint is in full playoff mode, fighting for positioning in the West, while North Bay's trying to hang on to the final spot in the East. Every point matters in a little non-conference action for the Birds and the Troops, so it should be a fun one. Flint Firebirds hockey is on the air. And it starts right now. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome inside the broadcast booth for tonight's pregame show, driven by Shea Automotive. Here to tell you the story, I'm Brian Gardner. So yeah, for the Firebirds, 53 games down and only 15 to go. The Birds, every point matters as it stands right now in a tight battle for positioning in the Western Conference. Flint sitting in 6th place right now, 10 points back of 5th place Erie, and only a hand points clear of 7th and 8th place, trailing them behind. So the Firebirds fully in playoff mode as things stand right now. The Birds welcoming in out of the Eastern Conference the North Bay Battalion, a team that's going to be a little bit road weary. Firebirds also kicking off a busy stretch. So the Birds, this is game number 1 out of 6 in the span of 9 days. For the Troops, this is game number 2 of a southern road swing for them. They were in Saginaw last night. Here in Flint tonight, they'll head off to Sarnia on Sunday afternoon. So it should be fun here today between the Firebirds and the Battalion as Flint looks for 2 big points and to split the season series with North Bay. Let's get a look back at the highlights of the last time these two teams were on the ice. We'll start on Monday in London. First period, it's Nathan Day getting acrobatic with it. Day was spectacular in this game. Big time stop there to keep it 0-0. Later, second period, Carlos Flugans to the top of the left circle. Caden Petrie through traffic, past a screen, and in. Petrie scores, extends his point streak to 5 games in the process, and the Firebirds are on the board, leading 1-0. Later in the second, Day still Johnny on the spot, making a big-time stop, but we're off to the third. Short-handed for Denver Barkey, that's no problem. London will tie it up. Their captain gets the short-handed goal just 23 seconds into the third period, which made it 1-1. Later in the third, they win the offensive zone face-off to Casper Haltonen. He shoots and scores, and London takes the lead for the first time 2-1. Now it's going to be a flurry here in front of the net. Day makes the initial stop. They'll just keep hacking away at it. London eventually scores. That will be William Nickel to poke it in. Got a little bit of help from Blake Montgomery, and it made it 3-1. Firebirds pull the goaltender for the extra attacker. Denver Barkey finds the empty net. 4-1 the final. A great performance from Nathan Day is for naught as the Firebirds lose on Monday afternoon in London. Last night in Saginaw, it was the North Bay Battalion and the Saginaw Spirit. First period starts fast for Saginaw. Dima Zhilkin, the rookie from Zane Perek, picks up his first of 3 assists in this game, and the Spirit take a 1-0 lead. Later, Saginaw with a power play. Christian Epperson through traffic over to the far side, and eventually it's going to be Michael Misa with his 53rd goal of the season to make it 2-0. Spirit will get another one here. Nick Sema in front of the net off the rebound. Zhilkin gets his second point of the game there to make the score 3-0. Through traffic, initial stop was made, but Sema was just camped in front of the net, and he shoots and scores. Now Saginaw trying for one more. Perek able to move it to Kluche, and now Carson Harmer finishes in tight. It's 4-0. How about one more for good measure for Saginaw? 5-0 Spirit in the first period. Now North Bay will get one more on the board in the second. Nice little play from Jacob Terrian off the skate from below the goal line. Bounces off of Oak's right skate and in. But they get the goal, and that would be all. North Bay eventually loses it by a final score of 5-1. So the Firebirds taking on this North Bay team now, a team that has struggled to put the puck in the net as they have the second fewest goals for and goals per game this season. That goal differential of over 50, sitting at 56. The Firebirds on the other side of things, a little bit more balanced. Now, of course, the Birds have struggled a little bit on the special teams that has been up and down as of late, hoping to click against the North Bay team coming off that tough loss yesterday. We've already alluded to the standings a little bit here this evening as we look first in the West. So the Firebirds are 10 points back of 5th place Erie. They have a couple of games against Erie over the span of the next week and a half, as they'll be in Erie on Monday and then again a week from Saturday. So you look though at Sarnia trailing just 2 points behind. Owen Sound's just 4 points back in 8th, and the Sioux Greyhounds in 9th are only 5 points back. Points are pretty key for the Firebirds. We need to make sure they're not going to slip any lower than 6 and see if they can go on a run and potentially catch Erie. In the East, 8th place for North Bay. They are 9 points back of 7th place Sudbury, only 2 clear of 9th place Ottawa though. So North Bay just trying to make sure that they're a team that is in. Of course, the East has been really tight. They're starting to get a little bit of separation up top there, but for the Battalion, they're a team hoping to solidify their spot in the tournament. Well, the Firebirds and the North Bay Battalion, teams that have only played once so far this season. We only see each other twice a year. One trip out to North Bay, it happened back in December. It was a 4-1 win for the Battalion. One trip here to these parts. That's, of course, tonight as the Firebirds look for the split of the season series. Stick around as we roll along on the pregame show driven by Shea Automotive. When we come back, we'll get a look at the lineups for tonight's game, our players to watch, and we'll continue after that with anthems and puck drop, as this is the pregame show driven by Shea Automotive. We got the Birds and the Troops live here on the Firebirds Hockey Network.
At the Shea Megalot, they pride themselves on always aiming higher and finding new and better ways to keep you informed on your next new-to-you vehicle. Go to SheaMegalot.com, look for the used vehicle tab, choose your vehicle, then look for the button that says Vehicle Records, where you can find the original MSRP, view the service, maintenance, and Carfax history, just like looking under the hood. Plus, take a video test drive. I'm Mackenzie Miller. With over 500 pre-owned and certified vehicles to choose from, the Shea Megalot is where it's at. Just saying.
Battalion, Firebirds, North Bay and Flint. That's the matchup today, live from the Dort Financial Center here in Flint, Michigan, as the Birds welcome their visitors from North Bay, Ontario. Let's get a look at tonight's lineups. We'll begin with our visitors from North Bay, the Battalion, as this is a team that doesn't exactly have the same firepower that you might have gotten used to over the last couple of seasons. They were sellers at the trade deadline, were the Battalion. Now, Ethan Procession really leads the way up front. It is a younger team, even despite having, of course, the LeBlanc twins and Andrew and Jacob in the lineup. As we take a look at our players to watch for tonight's game, I just mentioned him, Ethan Procession. He's an Anaheim Ducks prospect, not only the Battalion's leading scorer and captain, he's the only NHL drafted prospect on the team. First time these two teams met, he had a goal and 2 assists in the 4-1 North Bay win. He's doubled his point production from last season when he had 36 points in 62 games. Now, Anaheim snagged him in the 3rd round, and that's looking like a nice pickup for Procession. 1 goal away from 30, 3 goals, 5 helpers in his last 7. Did pick up an assist in their 5-1 loss in Saginaw last night. To his right wing, and Jacob Terrian. He scored the lone North Bay goal in their loss in Saginaw last night. That was his 11th of the season. His production's actually slowed a little bit from the 20-goal season he had last year, but he's heating up with points in 5 straight and goals in 4 of his last 5. Had a goal and an assist against the Birds in North Bay in that win on December 8th. Terrian, 11 goals and 15 assists for the Battalion this season. And to Shamar Moses, a draft-eligible prospect and a good one. NHL Central Scouting ranked him number 71 among North American skaters at their mid-season update. He was originally a Barrie Colt, their 2023 first-round pick. Came over to North Bay early in the year in a trade for Dallin Wakely. 30 assists on the season, that leads the Battalion overall with 41 points in what is his 2nd season in the Ontario Hockey League. Now let's get a look at what the Firebirds will look like here this evening. Notable absences for the Firebirds: overagers Evan Conyon and Nolan Collins both out of the lineup with upper body injuries. Connor Clattenburg's back in after missing last game with an illness on Monday. Flint has jumbled the lines a little bit. That Aspinall, Clattenburg, and Thibodeau trio up top is new, as is the Petrie, Lombardi, and Kostov combo on the second line. Josh Colosimo finding his way to the third line for Flint. Get a look at our players to watch for the Firebirds. Caden Petrie scored the lone Flint goal on Monday in London. He extended his point streak to 5 games in the process. Now second on the team in goals with 17, assists with 25, and points with 42. Now he continues to play well. He'll be on that fresh line combo tonight with Lombardi and Kostov on the second line. The Tampa Bay Lightning prospect, you'll also hear from him at the first intermission in a sit-down interview we did earlier last week. Now over to Alex Kostov, who is going to be on that right wing with Caden Petrie on the second line. He's been good lately, just like he has been really for nearly the last 3 months. Goals in 4 of the previous 5 before being held off the score sheet on Monday in London. He's got such a knack for creating breakaways. He'll hope to wreak a little havoc against North Bay here this evening. Sits 4th on the team in both points and assists. And to the blue line, and Blake Smith. Now Smith, 4 assists in his last 4 games. He is at a career high in goals, assists, and points. Just steady as he goes for Blake Smith on the back end. You'll probably see him on the ice for about half the game tonight. Those 27 points, more than twice his career total for points entering what is his overage year. His next point will be number 50 for his OHL career. And again, 4 points in his last 4 outings. Blake Smith has been really the engine for the Firebirds on the blue line all season long. So the Birds and the Troops for what is, again, just the second time out of 2 meetings between the 2 teams this season. Flint hoping for a little revenge off of a 4-1 loss back in North Bay in early December. That was the tail end of a long road trip for the Firebirds, who did that classic Barrie, Sudbury, and North Bay, Northern Ontario swing. So for North Bay fans who are watching and not too familiar with this Firebird squad, we hope you're in for a good one here this evening as the Firebirds in the battalion, couple of teams trying to solidify their positioning in the playoff race, and they will hope for a couple of points here this evening. Hey, stick around. When we come back on the pregame show driven by Shea Automotive, we will get the starting lineup introductions. We will get the national anthems. Then it'll be time for puck drop. Birds in the battalion here on this Friday evening from mid-Michigan. Stick around. It's coming up after this, live here on FHN.
There's not always a light on your dash when it comes to your brakes. Whoa! You ever hear that noise? Let me show you what could be going on. Wow, looks like it's time to replace those brake pads. Before this happens to you, come on in for your free brake inspection. If you need brakes, we'll even give you 10% off any brake repairs here at Shea. I'm Jesse Lopez, and that's my tip for the month. Come trust our process. Come trust the Shea service team.